Welcome to Waidsum Academy. Today we are doing biology chapter 9 and the topic is transport in animals. Okay, so without wasting time, let's begin. Quickly, let's take a look at transportation of substances in animals. The first and foremost, let's look at unicellular organisms, simple unicellular organisms. Okay, now we say oxygen, nutrients, and waste products, they diffuse either into a unicellular organism or out of a unicellular organism. For example, oxygen and nutrient diffuse into unicellular organism. Oxygen and nutrient diffuse into unicellular organism. So oxygen will diffuse in, and nutrient will also diffuse in, but the waste product will diffuse out. Okay, waste product diffuses out of a unicellular organism. This is just a pictorial representation of a unicellular organism. Okay, it looks like a human being that is swimming, but it's not a human being. Okay, it's just a big electron microscope, a magnified unicellular organism. A magnified unicellular organism. So we say oxygen and nutrient always diffuse into the unicellular organism, and the waste product in the body of the unicellular organism diffuse out. Okay, unicellular, remember, they are organisms with one cell only. Okay, one cell only, like bacteria and all those. Okay, now let's go to complex multicellular organisms. Let's go to complex multicellular organisms. Complex multicellular organisms includes human beings. And the transport system in animals of complex multicellular organisms consists of the blood vessels, consists of the blood, consists of the heart to pump the blood, and consists of the valve to prevent the blood from going backward. Is that okay? So the main transport system in human is the circulatory system. Now let's take a look at blood as a fluid tissue. Blood as a fluid tissue. Now the blood consists of the following: the red blood cells, okay, the red blood cells and the white blood cells, and the liquid plasma. The red blood cells, the white blood cells, and the liquid plasma. Now this is this is taken with a light microscope, showing the blood composition. Now these are called the white blood cells. These three, they are called the white blood cells. And remember, the white blood cells are divided to lymphocyte and phagocytes. We're going to treat that, lymphocyte and phagocyte, the white blood cells. Okay, these white blood cells, they help to fight bacteria in our body. They're disease-fighting antibodies. The red blood cells helps to carry hemoglobin and oxygen to the rest of the body. Okay, then we have the liquid plasma and so on and so forth. Now, this is the blood, a sample of blood that has been shaken or turned with or spin around with a very high speed to bring the separations of the blood composition. Now you can see the liquid one, the denser one settled at the bottom, which is the blood cells, the red blood cells, the white blood cells, they settle at the bottom. The liquid plasma settle at the top. So this is the liquid part of the blood. This is the liquid part of the blood. Now these are the cells of the blood, the red blood cells and the white blood cells, which settles at the bottom of that, which settles at the bottom. Which settles at the bottom, okay? So now let's move on. Let's move on quickly. Now, still on that, the main components of the blood, we say this top part, the liquid one, is the plasma, and this denser one, the one that's at the bottom, is the blood cells. Now, the blood cells are characteristically two, the white blood cells and the red blood cells. So, in the blood, there are four things that we need to know. Number one is the plasma, the liquid portion of the blood, which is usually when you speed the blood severally with high speed, you will see the liquid portion at the top of the blood. The cells, the white blood cells, follows. Okay, we have the lobes of the nucleus. Okay, this is the lobes of the nucleus for the phagocyte. You know, I said the white blood cells is divided into two. We have the lymphocytes and the phagocytes. the lymphocytes, and the phagocytes. Okay, we will describe the composition and the usage of each one in a later studies. Okay, now the third part, the second part of the blood. Okay, this was the number 3. The second part of the blood is the red blood cells. The red blood cells consist or contain what we call the cytoplasm. The cytoplasm is the one that contains the hemoglobin, which carries the oxygen. Okay, the cytoplasm contains the hemoglobin, which carries the oxygen, and then we have the membrane. The membrane is the outer layer. Okay. Okay, so this is a section of the red blood cell. It's like a disc. The red blood cell is like a disc-like substance. The red blood cell is a disc-like shape. It has a disc-like shape, like a round shape. Okay, the fourth part of the blood is called the platelets. The platelets are like networks. They are like fibrin threads, like the fibrin threads. That's what we call the platelet. They help in the blood clotting. Whenever you sustain injury, this helps in the clotting of the blood. Okay? So the blood is composed of 4 things: the plasma, the liquid part, the nutrient, the water, and everything. The red blood cells, which carry hemoglobin, which contain oxygen. And then the third is the white blood cells, which fight against bacteria and diseases in our body. And these bacteria, these white blood cells divided into 2 groups: the lymphocyte and the phagocytes. The lymphocytes and the phagocyte. And the fourth one is the platelet. The platelet, which helps to structure which helps to heal the wound whenever we sustain injury quickly. Now, let's go on the circulatory system proper. Now, the first part we look at is what is the transport system in general. Now, we take specifically the circulatory system. We take specifically on the circulatory system. Now, in general, the circulatory system is same as the transport system, right? So transport in animal occurs through what? The blood circulation. So through the blood circulatory system. Every transport in our body of nutrient, of water, of anything in our body is so through the blood circulatory system. It happens through what we call the blood circulatory system. So the transport in animal is through the blood circulatory system. Remember, in plant we talk about the xylem and the phloem, but in animal it's through the circulatory system. Now, this circulatory system consists of the blood vessels, which are the arteries, the veins, and the capillary. Right? The arteries, the veins, and the capillary. Now, the blood vessels that leaves the heart, they are known as the artery. They are known as the artery. The biggest one is known as the aorta. The biggest arteries that takes the blood that's being pumped by the heart directly away from the heart to the rest of the body is the aorta. But in general, the arteries carries the blood away from the heart. The heart pumps the blood, and the artery carries the blood away from the heart. So we're going to look at the structure of the artery. How well is this suited to be able to carry the pressure of the heart? Because the heart is pumping. The heart is like a pump. It's pumping. So how well is the structure of the artery that it doesn't burst with the pressure, with the high pressure of the heart pumping the blood? Now, which branch into us? The arteries branch into arterioles, which begins to form, or which branch into capillary. The arterioles are the small granules of arteries. They're the small units, smaller units. You know, the artery brings the blood, diverges into smaller branches, smaller units, which eventually takes it to networks of capillary. The capillary, or the network of capillary, is a connection, is a junction, is a connection between the artery and the veins. Okay, so between the artery to the cells of the body, and from the cells of the body, between the cells of the body and the veins. Okay, let's bring it that way. So when the artery, before it gives anything to the rest of the body, it passes through the network of capillary. And when the cells of the body have made use of the oxygen and nutrients and water and the plasma and the platelet and everything that it contains, then it gives it back to the vein. The vein is connected from the cells of the body, is connected to the vein through the capillary again. Then which joins up to the venous. Venous is the smaller unit of the vein, and then joins to the vein. So this is what happens, and we're going to talk about this composition as fast as we can. Now let's take a look at the components of the circulatory system. First, the main chamber, the big constitution of the circulatory system is called the heart. The heart is the center of the circulatory system, is the whole thing of the circulatory system. The heart, by the creator of heavens and earth, has made the heart a pump that pumps the blood. A pump that pumps the blood, and this blood is being taken to the rest of the body to fill the body with the nutrient, with water, with everything that it got. When digestion takes place, they join the blood. After absorption and assimilation, it joins the blood. The excess are saved in the liver. Okay, the liver, when the body needs it, the liver breaks it down. The glycogen breaks it down into glucose again, and then it joins the blood. And then it comes to the heart. The heart pumps these nutrients and water, and what have we, to the rest of the body through this biggest artery called the aorta. Okay, you can see this is the artery, the red one, carries the blood to the rest of the body. And then before it joins the rest of the body, first it joins the artery to the network of capillary, and this network of capillaries distribute it to the rest of the body, and then from there absorb into the network of capillary again, there to the venous to the main vein, and also to the other side. Okay, because the body is big, also deliver to the network of capillary here, and this network of capillary to the body cells to the network of capillary, network of the venous to vein, and the vein brings the blood, the deoxygenated blood. The blood that is coming, you see, is red because it's oxygenated blood. It contains oxygen. This blood contains oxygen. Okay, it contains oxygen. When this oxygen is deposited to the body cells, then it has lost oxygen, no more oxygen, because the body cells makes use of the oxygen. So the blood that is now returning to the heart has no oxygen. The blood that is now returning to the heart has no oxygen. That's why you see it's blue. Okay, so it comes to the heart as a blue blood, but not in reality, not really blue, but something a little bit not as reddish as it was originally. So when it comes to the heart, then the heart pumps this blood to the lungs to go and pick up oxygen. Okay, to pick up oxygen in the lungs. The lungs is somewhere here at top of the heart. Okay, so when your lung is damaged, if anything happens to your lung due to smoking, then you don't have the oxygen to be distributed to the rest of your body. Then you must be in oxygen bank. You must now carry artificial oxygen in order to live, or you die. So this is what is happening. It picks up the oxygen, and the blood becomes oxygenated blood, and then it comes back to the heart, and then the heart pumps this oxygenated blood to the rest of the body. So this is what is happening. And let's take a look at the arteries, the walls of the arteries, and how the artery looks internally, and how is it able to carry the blood, the pressure from the heart's pumping. Now you can see here, this is the artery. These are the walls of the artery. They are thick. You can see this wall of the artery. They're thick. They're thicker than that of the vein. Look at the walls of the vein. They're thinner. But the hole in the vein is way bigger than the hole in the artery. The artery, the passage is smaller, way smaller than that of the vein. So the blood has to struggle to pass through. That's why it's elastic. The way our Creator made it elastic. Meaning, as the blood is coming with high pressure, the artery will open up, will become elastic, okay, with high pressure, because the blood passing through the arteries with high pressure. So it opens up, and then the blood starts to go through, okay. The passage where the blood has passed, we close the gate, and the one the blood is coming to opens up for the blood to go through. But the vein is like an expressway. The vein is like an expressway. So the only thing the vein, the Creator of the heavens and earth, made in the vein was that He put valves so that the blood will not flow backward. He put valves because the vein is like expressway, like toll gate. The valves are like toll gate. So when you pass the toll gate, you cannot go back through that route. When you pass the toll gate, you cannot go back. So the veins are like the toll gate, so that every blood that has passed through it will not be able to flow backward. Okay? Like diodes in electricity. Okay, now let's move to look at the vein. We say the vein has valve. Take a look at the vein. They have valve. So as the blood is coming, because it's like express, As the blood is coming like a flowing river, the valve opens up. The gate of the valve opens, and the blood flow past, and the gate closed. When blood flow past, the gate closed. When blood is coming, it opens. So it closes to prevent the blood not to go back. Okay, so that the deoxygenated blood will not go and return to our body cells. When the deoxygenated blood, because the deoxygenated blood is carrying carbon dioxide, that carbon dioxide is a waste, and it needs to be taken to the lungs, to the heart first, then from the heart to the lungs, so that we breathe it out. When this deoxygenated blood returns back to the body cells, we're going to die. We're going to have poisons in our body system. We're going to die. So the creator of heavens and the earth, when he created us human beings, he put valves. He put valves in the vein. So when you say there is no creator, it means you don't understand science. Okay? So he put valve to disallow the backward flowing of the blood. So the blood flows straight to the heart. Okay? So this is the structure. When it passes, when it's coming, this valve will open. But right now, you can see this valve is closed. This valve is open. See? It's open. This is how it opens, so that it can flow past. It doesn't let it flow like express. Let it flow past, slow it down, let it flow past. But when it's closed, it's like this. So the blood coming cannot go through. Okay? So this is what the valve looks like. Now, in the case of vein, look at a valve that is closed when the blood is coming. Look at the one that is open. When the valve is open here, the valves are in every interval. Okay? When it's open, the blood can flow through. Now this valve is closed. This blood is waiting for the gate to open. Is that okay? Now let's move on quickly. Now see, we are demonstrating the presence of valves in the vein. Okay? We have the valve. These are the valves. These are the valves in the vein. Okay? This is the bandage. As the blood comes, it opens and then the blood can flow past. Okay? You can see this from a pulse. When you touch your hands, you can feel it. Okay? Now let's go to tissue fluid. Now tissue fluid, a fluid is like a liquid, right? So tissue fluid are the tiny spaces between the tissue. We say the tiny spaces between the tissue cells contains a colorless liquid known as the tissue fluid. The tiny space between tissues contain liquid that we call the tissue fluid. Now these tissue fluids or these tissue cells are bathed with tissue fluid. Every cell of the tissue is bathed with tissue fluid, meaning every cell of the tissue contains what we call the fluid. The cells are not dried. The body cells are not dried. They contain fluid called the tissue fluid. Now let's move how are substances transferred between capillaries and tissue cells. How are substances transferred between capillary and tissue cells? You know, the capillary is a network. It's a network like we showed before. The blood that is coming, usually let's say the red blood cells, for example, we have the white blood cells and we have the red blood cells. All of them coming plasma and the platelets, all of them. As they come in, right? This is the white blood cell. This is the sample of the white blood cell. This is the sample of the red blood cell. This is the direction of flow of the blood. The blood is going in this manner. So every time, the pressure is what is pushing the blood in the artery. The pressure. So the pressure pump the blood. As the blood is coming, the walls of the artery will open. You know the arteries, the wall is very tiny. So the pressure of the blood will cause the walls to open so the blood can pass. Everywhere the blood gets to, the pressure forces the walls of the artery to become elastic. You know, it's an elastic material. So this is another sign of the creator. So it makes the artery to be very elastic. It makes the artery to be very elastic because it's the one that carries the blood away from the heart. So the heart's pressure, you know, the heart is pumping with high pressure. So that pressure pushes the blood, forces the blood to go through the arteries of our body. Now, when the blood everywhere gets to, it becomes elastic, the artery will open, and the blood will continue to flow past through it till it gets to the capillary. And on getting to the capillaries are tinier, but they have many branches. So the blood is deposited from the artery to the capillary, and the capillary to the body cells. And then from the body cells, when the oxygen is used up, carbon dioxide is given. The body cells takes the oxygen and then give carbon dioxide to the blood. The blood is now sent to the network of capillary, from network of capillary to venous to vein, to return to the heart. Now this time around, this blood does not have oxygen. It becomes deoxygenated. And it has to flow through with valve, preventing it from returning backward. It has to flow straight to the heart and to enable us to do the things that we have to do. Now let's take a look at the structures of the arteries. We compare the artery, the vein, and the capillary, the structures and their functions. Now we say that the arteries, they have thick muscular wall. Why? We say they have thick muscular walls. Why? So that they can withstand the pressure of the heart, the pressure with which the heart is pumping the blood. And they are elastic tissues. They are elastic. Why? So that when the blood is coming in the huge amount, the artery can open up, can widen up, so that the blood can pass through. So you can see this can only be a perfect design. This is a perfect design. Now, the artery also have what we call a small lumen. A small lumen relative to the diameter. Small lumen relative to the diameter. And then the artery also contains what we call the semilunar valve is absent. It doesn't have a valve. You know, the vein is the one that have a valve. Semilunar valve is absent. There's no valve in the artery. So what God made, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made, He made it a narrow passage, but it's elastic. When something is flowing through it, it widens. It widens. So that's what has been done to it. Now let's take a look at the structure of the vein. We look at all their structure before we look at their functions. Now, in the case of the vein have a thin muscular wall. The wall is thin. The wall is thin. It's not thick. It's thin. Meaning it's not thick. It's thin. The walls are thin, not as thick as that of the arteries, and with very little elastic tissue. Not very elastic, because it has a very wide, narrow passage. So there's no need for it to be elastic as much. Very small amount of elasticity, if there's any. Okay? And then they have large lumen relative to the diameter. Large lumen means they have wide gap, okay, relative to the diameter. And then they have what we call semilunar valves. Valves are present, okay, to prevent the blood. Like I said, the valves are to prevent the blood from flowing backward. Now let's take a look at the walls, the structure of the capillaries. Capillaries, they have one cell thick, just one cell thick walls with no muscular or elastic tissue. They don't have muscular or elastic tissue. They are thinner, they are smaller, but they are network. They are not just one. There are very many, okay, around themselves. Then they have large lumen relative to the diameter. They have the space inside is wide for the blood to go through, despite they are thin. Then they don't also have semilunar valve. They don't have valve. Only lungs have been given valves. Okay. Now let's take a look at their function. What are the functions of arteries? Arteries carry blood away from the heart to the rest of the body. They carry blood away from the heart. That's their job. You should know this, even from lower schools, primary schools. The arteries, they carry blood away from the heart to the rest of the body. The vein carry blood towards the heart. Okay. The vein, they carry blood to the heart from the rest of the body. While the capillary, they are like link. They link arteries to vein. The capillary, they are like link bridge. You know, link bridge? A bridge that links two roads. A road this way, a road this way, a bridge. You can use bridge to link them. So the capillaries, they are like link bridge. They link the arteries to the vein. Now let's take another composition of their functionality. Now we say the arteries, they carry oxygenated blood. Why? Because, you know, the arteries take the blood from the heart. The blood that just be pumped from the heart. You know, the heart will not take the blood away unless it receives the oxygen from the lung. The oxygen, which is binded with a component called the hemoglobin, is added to the blood and it is being pumped by the heart to the rest of the body. So the heart carries or pumps, the arteries carries what we call the oxygenated blood. The word oxygenated means a blood that contains oxygen. Okay? Except the only artery that do not carry oxygenated blood is called pulmonary artery. It's called pulmonary. Why? Why is pulmonary artery not carry oxygenated blood? Because pulmonary artery is the artery that takes the blood to the lung. You know, the blood that came from the rest of the body does not have oxygen. It's carrying carbon dioxide. So from the heart, you know, the blood is first pumped first pumped, the blood that comes from the rest of the body is first pumped from the heart to the lungs. By what? By pulmonary artery. This pulmonary artery do not carry oxygenated blood because it carries deoxygenated blood. The oxygenated blood that has returned to the heart from the rest of the body. So it goes through the pulmonary artery and to the lungs. Now from the lungs, it's exchanged. There's what we call gaseous exchange, which we're going to do in the respiratory system. There's a gaseous exchange. The carbon dioxide is given out, and the oxygen is absorbed. It's taken and it diffuses into the red blood cells, and then it returns to the heart. And the blood that now comes to the heart from the lungs is called the oxygenated blood. This oxygenated blood is what the heart pumps. The oxygenated blood is what the heart pumps. Okay? The oxygenated blood is what the heart pumps. The oxygenated blood is what the heart pumps, and that oxygenated blood now goes to the rest of the body. That oxygenated blood now goes to the rest of the body. Now, how can we see a system like this and we say that there is no creator? Okay, we cannot see a system like this and still say there is no creator. A perfect system like this and say there is no creator. Every of these things, do not make mistake. Every of these, the arteries carries the blood. The pulmonary artery carries the oxygenated blood, to the lungs, never fails. Okay, it does its job. The heart never fails to pump. They pump like 70 times per minute. 70 to 80 times per minute. Your heart keep pumping. Every minute, your heart will pump 70 to 80 times. How can we say there's no God? Do you know how many minutes are in 1 hour? 60 minutes are in 1 hour. So meaning you're going to multiply 70 or 80 times 60. So to tell you in 1 hour how many times your heart pumps. Then you multiply that times 24, which is 1 day. We can do the mathematics and see how many times the heart pumps the blood per day. You can see it's already in millions. If you do the mathematics, it's already in millions. So we use average 80 times in a minute times 60, and then multiply by, that would be 1 minute. Then 1 minute times another 60, you get 1 hour. 1 hour times 24, you get a huge number telling you how many times the blood pumps, the heart pumps the blood per day. Now this another function we said that of the vein is that the vein carries the oxygenated blood. The vein is bringing the oxygenated blood from where? From the rest of the body, right? Except which vein? Except the pulmonary vein. Why? Because the pulmonary vein is the vein that brings the blood from the lungs to the heart. The pulmonary vein is the vein that brings the blood. You know, vein brings blood to heart every time. So from the lungs to the heart, it is the pulmonary vein. Now, the pulmonary vein does not carry deoxygenated blood. The pulmonary vein carries oxygenated blood. Why? Because there has been gaseous exchange. The lungs give oxygen. There's a trade. The lungs gives oxygen to the pulmonary vein, and the pulmonary. You remember, pulmonary artery already deposited deoxygenated, which is carbon dioxide, to the lungs. The lungs take carbon dioxide and gives us oxygen. Now, this pulmonary vein brings the blood to the heart. So it's carry oxygenated. It's not carry deoxygenated blood. It's the only vein. They can ask you this in multiple choice. Which of the following vein do not carry the oxygenated blood? Is the pulmonary vein. Why? Because pulmonary vein brings the blood from the heart, from the lungs to the heart. From the lungs to the heart. So it carries oxygenated blood. Now let's go to the capillary. The capillary, blood changes from, in the capillary, this is where blood changes from oxygenated at the arterioles to the deoxygenated at the venous. It is in this, within the network of capillary that blood changes status from being oxygenated, from being a big boy with oxygen to a ubiquitous guy with carbon dioxide. And so this blood returns to the heart. Okay? Now let's move on. We spent a lot of time in this place. How are substances transferred between capillaries and tissue cells? First of all, is by flow. flow, the flow. Now, when we say by the flow of the substance through the blood, blood is under high pressure in the artery. Remember, why is blood under high pressure? Why is blood under high pressure in the artery? Because the walls are thick, but the passage is narrow. It's a narrow passage. The artery has a narrow, hollow road for the blood to go through. So the heart's pumping create that high pressure to force the blood to move through it. But the vein is a low pressure for the vein because the vein has a wide, hollow hole. The blood can move through it like an expressway. The only thing that slows it down is the toll gate. What is the toll gate? The valves. The valve slows it down and it opens for it to pass. Okay? So now, in the case of the flow, how is the flow of capillary? Pressure of blood reduces as blood flow from arteries to venous. Okay? The pressure reduces in the capillary. Okay? But the pressure is high pressure in the artery, low pressure in the vein. The pressure reduces in the capillary. Remember, the capillary is between. It's actually in the middle between artery and the vein. It's actually between them. Because from the artery to capillary, capillary to vein. This is the mechanism. Artery to capillary, then capillary to vein. This is what it works. This is how it works. Artery to capillary, and then capillary to vein. Now let's take a look at the blood moving in pulses in artery. That's why you can test your pulse. Okay? The blood is moving in pulses, reflecting the rhythmic pumping action of the heart as the heart is pumping the blood. The pulse is defining the characterization of the pumping of the blood by the heart. Then in the vein, there's no pulse. There's no pulse in the vein. Only in the artery. Artery tells us the pulse. And in the capillary, no pulse. Now, blood flows rapidly in the artery, meaning fast, flows rapidly. But in the vein, blood flows slowly. It's just moving like no business, no oxygen. It has no job. It's just going to the heart. Then, blood flows slowly also in the capillary. Okay, we move on to the next one. Here are some questions. You can pause the video and answer these questions. State the function of the following: the lymphocyte, phagocyte, red blood cells, platelet. Okay, these are these. Remember, they are white blood cells, and their job is to defend us against diseases. So pause the video and answer all of these questions. Is that okay? Now let's move on to still on transport in animal. We look. So this occurs through a blood circulatory system. Also, here either a single or double circulation method. And single circulation happens in animals like fish, okay, organisms like fish, and double circulation like mammals and human beings like us. Now let's take a look at single circulation. For the single circulation, you can see that they don't have lungs, they have gills. Okay, they have gills. So the blood moves from here to, this is considered the heart of the fish. Okay, pumps the blood to the gills to pick up oxygen. See, this is pumping a deoxygenated blood to the gills to pick up oxygen, and then this oxygenated blood to the rest of the body, and then the body uses the oxygen, and the body of the fish uses the oxygen, and then brings carbon dioxide back to the heart and to the head also, to the head. So this place, there's two places the gills can function. Okay, the gills gives oxygen here also and in this place. Is that okay? So this is the single circulatory system. But in the case of double circulation, why is it single circulation? It's not, in the case of double circulation, the blood first goes to the lung. The blood, why we call it double, it first goes to the lung to return carbon dioxide, which we call deoxygenated blood. Carbon dioxide gives to the lungs. The lungs give the artery or the pulmonary vein oxygenated blood. So the oxygenated blood is linked to the heart again, it's brought to the heart. When the heart now receives oxygenated blood, that's when the heart pumps it to the rest of the body through artery. So the blood is pumped to the rest of the body, okay, to round the whole body, okay. We just use this as a symbol to show the whole body. So pumps the blood, the whole body uses the oxygen and gives it carbon dioxide to return. This carbon dioxide as a result of respiration. You know, the oxygen reacts with glucose to form neutral carbon dioxide and water. Now, that carbon dioxide that has been produced as a result of respiration, the oxygen that is brought is used for respiration. Okay? Now, when respiration takes place, carbon dioxide is produced. That carbon dioxide needs to be got, it's a waste product, needs to be gotten rid of, is returned to the heart. The heart does not need it to spoil the heart. The heart pumps it to the lungs. The lungs is the one that helps it to take it out. So the lungs take it and give us oxygen, and we bring the oxygen again. The lungs send the carbon dioxide out. That's why we breathe it out. Okay, so this is for the case of double circulation. Let's take a look at advantages of double circulation. Okay, in the case of double circulation, blood flows more slowly through the lungs, allowing sufficient time for it to be well oxygenated. You can see these are the red blood cells. Okay, you can see these are the red blood cells. This is how the blood is flowing. Now the blood flow, it can take its time to flow and be able to pick up oxygen in the case of double circulation. Another thing is that double circulation enabled four-chamber heart. And this four-chamber heart ensures separations of oxygen from the deoxygenated blood. The fourth chamber, you have one, right atrium, right atrium, left ventricle, right atrium, right ventricle, left atrium, left ventricle. So all of these are the four chambers of the heart, right? Now, the oxygenated blood is distributed to the body tissue more quickly, okay, because of double circulation. The oxygenated blood can be distributed to the tissue very quickly. Now, let's take a look at the process. So we say the blood circulatory system consists of the heart. Now, the heart is broken down into atria, which is plural, and ventricle. Atria, which is plural of arteries, and then ventricles. Now, the artery, which includes the right atrium and the left atrium, and the ventricle, which includes the right ventricle and the left ventricle. We're looking at the chambers of the heart. Now, the right atrium, which receives the oxygenated blood from the rest of the body, the right atrium receives the deoxygenated blood from the rest of the body, and the left atrium, which receives oxygenated blood from the lungs. The left atrium receives oxygenated blood from the lung. Now, the right ventricle pumps the deoxygenated blood to the lungs, while the left ventricle pumps oxygenated blood to the rest of the body. So you need to know right atrium, left atrium, their functions. Right ventricle, left ventricle, their functions. We need to know. It's very important. Now, here is what it is. This is the heart, the structure of the heart. Okay, this is the aorta, the biggest artery that pumps the blood to the rest of the body. It's called aorta. Okay, so the heart has muscles. Okay, the heart has muscles. It's just a flesh of muscles. There's no bone. And the muscles of the heart also need the blood. So there's what we call corollary artery. The corollary artery is the one that takes the blood to the heart muscles. Now, when this corollary artery is blocked, that's when we have heart attack. That's when we have heart problem. The corollary, because the muscles of the blood needs oxygen. They need the blood, they need oxygen, they need nutrients. So not only it pumps to the rest of the body, the heart also pumps blood to itself. Also pumps blood to its own muscles. And the artery that brings the blood to the muscles of the heart is called the coronary arteries. When anything happens to this coronary artery, like the road is blocked, then we have heart attack. We have heart attack. Okay? So these are the arteries that brings the blood to the heart. Then we have what we call the supravena cava. Okay, we have pulmonary artery. The pulmonary artery brings the deoxygenated blood to the heart, to the lungs, to exchange the carbon dioxide with oxygen. And the pulmonary veins bring the oxygenated blood to the heart. Brings oxygenated blood to the heart through this channel. It brings oxygenated blood to the heart, and then this oxygenated blood is pumped to the rest of the body. Is that okay? Now let's move on. Here is the chamber. Here are the four chambers of the heart. This is the left atrium, and this is the right atrium. So the top are both atrium, the top part of the heart. The left one, okay, I know when you're looking at it, you say, oh, but it's right. No, this is not the right. This is the left. You know, it's looking at you. If you view it as if it's looking at you, this will be the left. Okay? But it's opposite to you. That's why you are seeing here as right from yourself. This is the left atrium, and this is the right atrium. The right atrium receives the oxygenated blood from the vein, from the rest of the body. Okay? Between the right atrium and the left and the right ventricle, the bottoms are called the bottom segment of the heart are called the ventricle. The one here is the right ventricle, and the one here is the left ventricle. In between them, we have what we call, for the atrium, we have what we call the tricuspid valve. This valve opens when the blood wants to come here, and it closes once that is done. So after the ventricle, this right ventricle receives the deoxygenated blood, the blood with carbon dioxide, it will pump it through the pulmonary artery to the lungs. To pump it through the pulmonary artery to the lungs. Okay? This one, going to the lung, has what we call semilunar valve. It has its own valve called semilunar valve. Okay? The right ventricle pumps the blood into this pulmonary artery, which has a valve. Okay? You know, remember, normal artery don't have valve, but this pulmonary artery. Okay, so it takes the blood, the deoxygenated blood to the lungs. The lungs takes the carbon dioxide and gives it oxygen, and then the blood comes in through this place. The oxygenated blood comes into the heart through the left atrium, and between the left atrium and the left ventricle, there's another valve called bicuspid valve. So you need to please pay attention here. There's another valve called the bicuspid. So in the left we have bicuspid. On the left, we have bicuspid, left of the heart, and on the right, we have tricuspid. Okay? Now, when it receives the left ventricle, remember it's the ventricle that virtually sends the blood out. The left ventricle will pump the blood through another semilunar valve. Both of them are semilunar valve, okay? Another semilunar valve through the aorta. Aorta is the largest artery that is taking the blood away from the heart to the rest of the body. That is taking the blood away from the heart to the rest of the body. So I hope you get this explanation, right? So in summary, the blood that is coming from the rest of the body through what we call the vena cava enters through the right atrium, and between the right atrium and the right ventricle, there's a valve called the tricuspid valve. So when the valve opens, the blood enters the right ventricle. The ventricle pumps the blood because this blood contains carbon dioxide, cannot be sent to the rest of the body. So this ventricle pumps the blood to the lungs to go and give it carbon dioxide and bring oxygen through what we call the pulmonary artery. And it will pass through a valve called the semilunar valve. So when the blood picks oxygen from the lungs, it returns to the heart through what we call the left atrium. And the left atrium is carrying oxygenated blood. And between the left atrium and the left ventricle is a valve called the bicuspid valve. The valve opens, the blood enters the left ventricle. Now this left ventricle now pumps the blood through this artery. So this artery has a valve called the semilunar also that takes the blood to the rest of the body. Okay? So I hope you do get that. Now, this is the structure we have already explained, and it has been labeled. This is the heart, how our heart looks like. Okay? And then we have this, how the heart works. I've already explained how it works. Okay? So we move on. Now, here is blood pressure. What is the blood pressure? Every day you hear people have high blood pressure or low blood pressure. Blood pressure is the force of the blood exerted on the walls of the blood vessels. The force. You know, the blood is moving. The force is exerted on the wall. Okay, when you have high blood pressure, it means the force is very high. The force is high, meaning your artery hole, the hole of the artery is closing. It's closing more than before. So there's a very high pressure now with which the blood is now pumping. the blood has to use high pressure. So it will affect the heart in the long run if you do not check the blood pressure. So we should always go and check our blood pressure and know if it's high, the doctors will tell you what to do. If it's low, they will also tell you what to do. But one thing I know, exercise helps to keep the body okay, and there are certain fruits and minerals. Food containing magnesiums are very important. The calcium is good, but calcium, when it's too much, it begins to block the passage of the blood, the hole. So you need to eat food that contains magnesium a lot to open the hole through which the blood will pass. Because when the hole is tightening, the narrow way of the artery is tightening, the blood now starts to flow with very high force, with very super force. It takes a lot of force for the blood to be able to flow. So when that happens, we say you have high blood pressure. Okay? So a pulse is produced every ventricular contraction. You should also check your pulse. Your pulse has something to do with your heart rate. Okay? There's what we call electrocardiograph, ECG. ECG shows your heart, okay, how it's doing. So all these things we should check regularly with the doctor. Is that okay? With a medical doctor. But one thing for sure, exercise makes everything better for you. Exercise and the right food and fruits and vegetables. So they're very good in order for the glucose and everything to digest and flow very well. Now, physical activities increase the pulse rate so that oxygen and glucose can be transported more quickly to the muscles to meet the increased demand in your body. So we need to do exercise a lot. Okay, arteries and veins of the human circulatory system. The arteries and veins, I think I have explained this one somehow. This is the head and neck. This is the forearms. This is the lungs. This is the head of the human body. This is the forearms. This is the lungs. This is the heart. Okay, the heart pumps blood through the pulmonary artery to the lungs, picks the oxygenated blood, brings it to the heart. The heart pumps to the rest of the body. The body downward, it goes this way. The body on top of your heart, like the head, your head and neck, they are on top. So the oxygenated blood goes this way to your arms, to your head. Okay, the network of capillary exchange the oxygen with carbon dioxide, and you breathe from your head, and this one from your arms. You bring the oxygenated blood to the heart. Okay, the one that went down through the rest of your body, your belly, your whatever, your kidney, your hinge, lips, and so all of this, they will bring the oxygenated blood, all of them from the top and from the bottom will bring the oxygenated blood to the heart. This deoxygenated blood will be sent to the lungs again to pick oxygen and bring oxygen, and it becomes oxygenated blood. This oxygenated blood is circulated again. So this process is continuous in our body. If anything happens to this process, we die. Anything happens to this process, we die. So we must be careful, we must exercise, and we must eat the right food so that nothing will happen to this process in our body. Now let's take a look at the corollary heart disease. Let's take a look at, I mentioned the heart disease. Transport in animals, still on transport in animal. It occurs through blood circulatory system, like we said, that consists of what? The heart. The heart is very important. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala talks about the heart a lot in the Quran. So the heart is very important, which can be affected by coronary heart disease. Remember I showed you coronary artery. I told you coronary artery is the artery that carries blood from the heart to the heart muscles. It carries blood from the heart to the heart muscles, coronary artery. And I told you, I already mentioned in this class, that when the coronary artery is blocked, then we have what we call coronary heart disease. Now, what are the things that can give us coronary heart disease? The coronary heart disease includes hypertension, includes heart attack, it includes stroke. So it includes stroke, hypertension, heart attack, and so on and so forth. Now let's take a look at the factors that can give you heart problems or heart disease. Number one, smoking. When we tell smokers don't smoke, they say, no, we've been smoking for many years, nothing has happened to us. You understand? The day something will happen is just one day. This is what they don't know. It's like someone speeding a lot. You tell, don't speed, speed kills. They say, no, I've been speeding for many years, nothing has happened to me. The day something will happen to him, he will not be alive again to tell the story, whether something happened to me or something did not happen to him. So when we say don't smoke, you say, no, I've been smoking, nothing has happened to me. The day it will happen, you may not even be alive to tell the story what has happened to you. So smoking is very bad. A lot of people don't smoke, but they stay close to people who smoke. When you stay close to someone smoking, you're also smoking. You are called second-hand smoker. So if anybody is smoking where you are, please walk away. Okay? And tell the person to excuse you, to excuse himself, and go and smoke somewhere else. So that's number one, because it's going to give you heart problem. Number two is unhealthy diet. Unhealthy diet, eating all these sugar beans, Jones beans, jungles, junkans, whatever you call them. Unhealthy diet. Every time you consume a healthy, carbonated, or healthy diet, you're going to be you're affecting your heart, unknown to you. Then another one is the gender. Okay, you'll be wondering why gender. Heart problems usually happen to men more than women. Just like diabetes happens to women more than men. I'm not saying it doesn't happen to both genders, but the heart problem is common more with men than women. After all, men are the ones who smoke the most. In fact, you can say ratio 20 to 1 if you want to say men to women who smoke. It will be like more than ratio 20 to 1. So you can see men smoke, men sometimes they eat unhealthy food more than women because they're always outside, they're working, so they buy junks. They don't have food to eat, they always buy junkies and eat junkies. So heart problem more common with men than women. Another factor is genetic factor, meaning in your heritage, your gene, your the blood you took from your father and your mother. If they have heart problem, there could be a chance that you may have. It doesn't mean you must have. There could be a chance that your gene already has corollary problem and you may have. Another factor is age. As you're aging, yes, you are prone to heart problem. Not everybody it will affect, but you're more prone to it when you are aging. Okay, it happens more to people who have aged than people who are younger, like stroke and so on. But nowadays, stroke happens to even young people. Okay, I've known two people who have passed away in this Malaysia from stroke. Okay, there's stress. Okay, if you're stressed up, you can have heart problem. If the stress continue, you can have a heart problem. So minimize anything that will give you stress. Be happy, have a happy life. If you take everything as the will of God, I think you have stress free. Okay, everything that happens, take it gently. Don't be stressed up, and you have a happy life, and your heart will be healthier. Then another one is the lack of exercise. See, this one is a big one. A lot of us don't do exercise. Okay, we don't. We forget exercise, but we don't forget to eat. See, you should do exercise as much as you eat food. If you don't have this habit of doing exercise as much as you eat food, then forget food. Forget food. In fact, you have to take 8,000 to 10,000 steps every day. Okay, so to keep you alive, Now I see why Allah said the men should be going to the masjid to go and pray. If you bring science to it, you see the wisdom in it, because the men, they are the one that are easily being affected by heart problem. So when you go to masjid, you trek it 5 times a day. You almost make 8,000 steps, depending on the distance of the masjid from where you live. So probably if you trek to masjid 5 times a day, you will be able to have made 8,000 steps that will free your heart from getting heart attack or heart problem. Okay? Now let's move on to what is a heart attack. Now, heart attack is when the coronary, the walls, okay, is blocked. So a blockage of the coronary artery can cause heart attack, okay? When the walls, and one of the things that shrink the passage is when we are eating rubbish food. You know, just now we mentioned eating unhealthy food, like fat deposit, food that will give you cholesterol. When you have cholesterol, it means you start having fat deposit around the walls of your arteries. So when that happens, you are narrowing down the passage of the blood. So there's small narrow way the blood can go through. When this lumen, the hole the blood goes through, becomes shrinked, and super small because of fat deposits and because of so many Yugo things you take. You can see your narrow way, your nume originally is this. Now your nume is as small as this one. Your nume is as small as this one. So when this happens, you start to develop heart problems. Abnormal. This is not abnormal. This is a normal case. This one is abnormal. You can see your lumen is so small that the blood is no longer squeezed to pass through to your heart muscles. And when your muscles don't get sufficient oxygen and the likes, you start developing heart problem. So when your coronary artery are blocked, the problem starts. Causes of coronary heart disease. I think we first summarized them. The atherosclerosis is the condition in which the fatty substances are deposited on the inner surface of the coronary artery. When there are fatty substances deposited, instead of this place to be a passageway for the blood to go to your muscles, fat has blocked the coronary area. So this condition is called atherosclerosis. Atherosclerosis. When you have atherosclerosis, then you must go for heart operation. You have to go for heart operation. There's a mesh. The doctors will fix a mesh in this artery to suppress the fat or to suppress every blockage here to allow the blood to go through. If you don't go the operation, after a while you start having a series of heart attack and heart problems. And then eventually the person will pass away. Thrombus is a blood clot that forms in your artery. So these two words, you must note what they mean. Thrombus is the clotting of the blood in your artery. That shouldn't be. And that will only happen when the blood is not having enough way to pass through. There's just stop. It's like you're stopped, roadblock in one place. And it's in a winter. Let's assume it's a winter region. You clot. So your blood will clot. I'm not saying winter like physical winter. I mean, as the blood is coming, no way to pass through. The blood stops in one place. It starts to clot. It starts to clot. Clot means it starts to thicken. Instead of flowing, it's in one place thicken like a solid. So that disease is called thrombus. We have atherosclerosis and we have thrombus. Atherosclerosis is when fat deposits block your passage, your hollow passage of the arteries, of the coronary arteries. So when this happens, we are in trouble. We are in serious trouble, and we need serious medical attention. Factors that increase the risk of coronary heart disease include your diet rich in cholesterol. So please stop eating a lot of fatty food. And what do you call the junkies and what do you call this Yungo Shoko food? And saturated animal fat. Stop eating saturated animal fats. Stop giving yourself emotional stress. Emotional stress for nothing. You are worried about everything. When you're worried about everything, you're giving yourself emotional stress. And it will affect the heart. And then another one is smoking. Don't smoke and don't let anyone who smoke come even an inch close to you. Don't go to places or gatherings where people are always smoking. Shisha, cigarette, weed, all manners of smoking. Do not let those people come close to you. Now, risk factors for the heart disease include smoking, like we mentioned, unhealthy diet, the things that will increase your heart disease. Genetic factor, this one you cannot control. This one is from your DNA. Okay, then gender, like we already said, heart problem more in men than women. And then age, heart problems start developing when you're aging, is normal. And then stress, don't give yourself emotional stress, it kills you, and not the people you worry about. Okay? Lack of exercise, this one kills the most. Because this one can eradicate many of all this one. When you exercise, you'll be stress-free. When you exercise, your age will not affect your heart issues. When you exercise, it will remove the gender barrier. When you exercise, you will be free from smoke deposit. You will be able to get away if there's any. But make sure you don't go near this one. When you exercise, or healthy diet will be reduced and will be come out as waste product from your body as much as you can. So this last one, can control almost all of these other ones, except the genetic factor. It may even help you to improve on your genetic factors. Okay, so these are the sample. This is proper diet. Eat proper diet. You see vegetable, you see leaf, you see tomatoes. You see all these are proper diet. You see lime. You see these are proper diet. You should eat proper diet. Don't eat junkies. Then say no to smoking. Avoid smoking. Proper stress management. Go out there and do yoga. For me, the best stress management is salah sujud. Okay, stay on your sujud longer. Stay on your sujud longer. You will see that you will the blood will flow to your head more, and you'll be more stress free. The regular physical exercise, this one will keep you alive and healthy. So this is you can pause this video and answer this question. Practice question. With this, we come to the end of our today's class. Thank you for joining us. Thank you.